Hello everybody, and today I will be starting a new series where I put the IDs of the sinners on a tier list, going from Yi Sang, or sinner number 1, all the way to sinner 13, or Gregor. So, let's get started with the first video of Yi Sang. Now, Yi Sang's base LCCB ID, yeah, this ID, his base ID, wants to be a sinking ID. He inflicts sinking, but he can't keep the sinking count. He can't maintain his sinking count. So that's why he's there. Also, his skills don't roll above a 12. And he can't gain access to his 1 fragile on his skill 3 unless you're fighting an enemy with sanity, because it doesn't proc against abnormalities and other such things. Now, we have 7 Association Yi Sang, and this ID makes me kind of sad. I don't know how to say it. Like, his on-field passive is actually pretty interesting. Having units or having enemies do have 2 less clash power against him will make him win a lot of clashes, actually. But it's 4 resonance of gluttony, which is 1, very annoying to get. 4 resonance is a lot of resonance. I mean, if you try getting whistles while running Enfast on field, you know it's pretty annoying. And yeah, that's it. He basically works in any team with with gluttony skills. But yeah, for gluttony it's just a lot. I'd say he'd be low B, but he'd be high B if it was his passive was 3 gluttony res instead of 4 gluttony res. Now we have Mauler, which can Mauler in a vacuum is a pretty good ID. He can supply a lot of tremor count by himself, and when he bursts tremor, he doesn't reduce tremor count. Right? He's a good ID. It's a good ID, right? But Effervescent Corrosion Rodion does his job. So you don't really have to run him if you are lacking tremor count, because Rodion has a tremor ID and a tremor count ego. So you'd rather run someone else that can provide like more potency rather than more count, because tremor count is really easy to maintain because it only decays by 1 when you burst with... Oh no, it only decays by 1 at the end of the turn, and by a random amount, or not a random amount, a specified amount when you burst tremor. So yeah, but he's a really good unit to maintain tremor count if you can somehow not maintain tremor count, right? Or if you don't have Effervescent Corrosion, if you did not buy the Battle Pass during Season 3. Now, we have Dieci Honglu, who is a pretty good tank, but he cannot clash for the life of him. He does not clash at all. He does not clash well at all. He gains a decent amount of shield, right? But he's like budget or LCC, not LCCB, Dieci Rodion at that point. Like, he can clash. He can do an alright amount of damage. He rolls really low. So you just put him in C. But he's he's an alright option for a sinking team. Yeah. And now we have Pequod Yi Sang, who is actually he can go there. The problem I have with Pequod Yi Sang is that he doesn't generate enough potency by himself. If you run him like in a regular team where he doesn't get extra skill slots. But if you can somehow get enough poise count and poise potency for his S2, skill 2, then it does pretty decent damage. It does pretty good damage, yeah. But getting to that point, 1 takes really long, and 2 is really RNG heavy. So I'd say he's like, yeah, he's mid B. But his S3 actually clashes well. I think it rolls not 11. It rolls 20 if you get the conditionals going, which is actually it's something to mention. So yeah, mid B is good. And now we have Yi Sang's 3-star identities. Starting off with Blade Lineage Yi Sang. If we're talking about Blade Lineage by himself at Uptide 4, which I forgot to mention, we're talking about all of them at Uptide 4. All the IDs at Uptide 4. Then he'd be like high A. Like near S, but like high A. The problem with BL Yi Sang is his passive, 1, requiring count, so you're constantly losing coin power whenever you crit, and 2, how slow he gains count for his passive, because you need to clash win with his S2, which rolls pretty like his S2 rolls low, first of all, so that's not good. And you really want poise so that he can do a ton of damage with the coin power up and the 70% increase on his skill 3's 3rd coin on flank thrust, yeah. But his poise generation for count is really slow, so he'd be at high A. But if we're talking about him in a Blade Lineage team, he'd go in around, I'd say, mid to low S. But if we're... It's so weird. It's weird, because if we're evaluating all the IDs individually, he'd be at high A, right? But you're obviously not going to run him by himself unless you're soloing with him, right? So if you run him in a Blade Lineage team, aka just add Mersault with him, Blade Lineage Mersault with him, then he'd be at mid S, right? So I think I'll put him at I think I'd put him at S tier. Right, yeah, S tier if you are running him in a Blade Lineage team. Now, with Sunshower Yi Sang, he'd go in A, because he's a good sinking unit. But with the new sinking units we got, which are Butlers, Butlers, was Linton Gregor. And then with the pre-existing sinking units, which are Dieci Honglu and... Or is it Dieci or Dieci? Oh well. Dieci Honglu and Dieci Rodion. And then We have, I'm sure there's one more sinking unit. Let me see. Is that all these sinking units? No, right? I mean, we have Dieci Yi Sang, but like you have Sunshower. I forgot to mention about that for Dieci Yi Sang. Sunshower exists for sinking, so Dieci's just bad unless you need a tank. Is that actually all the Mauler Ishmael, right? So that's already six units for sinking. So the sinking slots are very competitive right now. So you have to look at what he can bring to the table over the other sinking units. And what he can bring to the sinking table is that he has AoE on his skill 2, and he can sinking deluge. Sinking deluge, really funny, but in my opinion, actually, yeah, sinking deluge, pretty good, pretty. You can use it to get a screenshot damage, a damage number for a screenshot, right? But he's not. He doesn't bring anything else to the table, basically. He brings deluge. His AoE's alright. And then his damage is also alright. Just his deluge is what you're playing him for, right? Which is not bad. His deluge is good. But then after you deluge, and if the enemy's not dead at that point, you have to build up sinking all over again, which is another use of Rime Shank, which is a lot of resources. And you have to build it up to whatever you built it up before, right? It basically resets your sinking generation. So that's also a negative for deluge. But if you are able to one-shot the enemy with deluge, then you wouldn't have to worry about that con. So, just one-shot the enemy and deluge is pretty good. Okay, now we have W, which goes above, if I can, goes above Blade Lineage because he is generally count neutral. And then if you use his skill 3, he is count positive, which is by itself good, really good. And he clashes well as well. He gains charge pretty quickly. Yeah, he's just an overall very good unit for rupture teams, and he also applies charge barrier, so he gets more count as well to himself. And I think it also applies to other characters as well on kill. So yeah, protection, I guess. More, your other characters can be more tanky. So yeah, and then Ring Yi Sang. I mean, come on. If I put Ring Yi Sang anywhere else, actually, it'd be not fair for him, right? Ring Yi Sang is absolutely broken right now, or he will forever be broken, because yeah, re-rolling on re-flipping, what was it called? Like reusing his skill 2 coin, what is it, 3 times in a row, gets his damage potential close to self-destructive purge, which is pretty good for a skill 2. And his skill 3 is not a bad nuke at all. Just run him with N-Fost, and you're basically guaranteeing his reroll on his skill 2. It's a really easy conditional to fulfill. It's very dumb. It's very stupid. This ID's dumb. I mean, yeah. I forgot to mention, he gets a lot of bleed count as well. But nobody's talking about that because his skill 3 just does a lot of fucking damage that bleed might not be necessary to kill the enemy. But yeah, that's it for the Yi Sang IDs. I kind of rambled on there for a bit. But yeah, these are where so fucking I somehow made an F. I don't know how I did that, but yeah. Yeah, that's my take on the Yi Sang IDs. Next video will be on the Faust IDs, and then so on and so forth. Dawn, Ryoshu, Mersault, until we get to Gregor. But yeah, that's it for the first video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope I can see you again next time. Bye.